because we could talk about the sales presentation, but here's the thing. Apart from me just reciting the sales presentation to you, if you just learn it out of your manual, which you already have, like, that's it. That is how you do it. Have you run into any situations yet where people, instead of wanting to file a claim, they want you to give them a bid? Have you run into that yet?
Um, Not really. I
Okay.
mean, I'm not on a roof. I think we've had that. Um, what was it? I don't think it was a roof.
Okay.
Actually, the lady that we were at today for the adjuster meeting was prepared to have us present an estimate if the roof didn't get bought.
Gotcha.
So
That's different. Okay.
yeah.
Well, here's sometimes what will happen is like people just they're like hardwired to believe that they're supposed to get three bids, right? Like
Mhm.
because I think that it used to be that way. Like even with cars, like automotive repair now, I they still might even do that. They're like, go get three bids, and then of course the insurance company is going to pick which one.
The
The low,
lowest one.
right?
And then yeah, uh, Trevor talks about that. He's like, we don't want to be a part of that because then you're cutting out bells, whistles to try to beat the other two companies out on the bid.
Right.
You,
Exactly. So the thing is with insurance claims for like property claims, like roof, siding, gutters, what have you, homeowners sometimes think like, well, can't you just give me a bit? They feel like because of the lack of experience that they have with the whole process, they feel like they're supposed to get bids from you. And so sometimes, especially when you're new, this was like an interesting one for me to overcome in the beginning. But the sales presentation that you're going to be learning and using, I'm telling you right now, if you're using that sales presentation, you're not going to run into that. Like maybe 1 out of 10 people who just cannot get it through their dense brains what it is that you're communicating to them. Like maybe that'll happen, but the sales presentation eliminates that. But when you do run into it, here's how you kind of explain it. So people are hardwired, like I said, to feel like they're supposed to collect bids. So here's what you say. It's like, Mrs. Jones, I completely understand why you would ask me for that because, as a matter of fact, it used to be that when you'd have a claim, that you'd call your agent, right? There wasn't a hot number. There wasn't like a hotline for filing claims. You'd call your agent. And you're like, my roof is damaged, or my car got smashed, or whatever, and they would tell you, well, go ahead and collect three bids and send them in. Well, what do you think happened? Oh, they picked the lowest one. Exactly. They'd pick the lowest bid, which unfortunately, not always, but most of the time means that you're getting a very low bid from somebody who is cutting corners, is using cheap materials, they're not licensed, or they don't have the proper insurance so that their expenses are so much lower they can give you that low bid. Essentially, in short, it would give homeowners no option. They would have to go with like a budget friendly contractor. Well, that's not really cool to homeowners because it's like, oh, it's only our biggest asset we're talking about, my home. Like if you had to get surgery, you're not going to find a budget friendly doctor, are you? No, because it's your body, right? Like you want to make sure that whatever the price is, as long as you understand the price, like, oh, the doctor's licensed. Oh, he's done this before. Oh, he's using good drugs, right? You just need to understand it. So, since that process wasn't really working and you're getting contractors who would charge an arm and a leg, like double what everybody else is charging, then you'd get like two trucks in a truck, no insurance. They roof over your old roof. They dump their old junk in a creek somewhere. They don't have insurance, whatever. You'd have the two trucks in a truck type guys who charge like a third of what everyone else charges. How? And then you have everybody in between, right? Well, that system became very inefficient. It was driving prices way down to the point where homeowners were getting screwed because they were getting cheap labor done, cheap materials. Like it wasn't working. Homeowners were complaining. Insurance companies were catching a lot of flack for it. So they do not do that anymore. Bids, irrelevant. Insurance companies do not take bids. I would love to write you a bid right now, my retail prices, Mrs. Jones, and be like, here you go, and turn it in. That'd be amazing. But insurance companies don't even look at it. They do not care. What they've been doing now for the last decade or so, almost, is they use a software system called Xactimate. What Xactimate is it is a software that is a database of prices, like the average fair market values for labor and materials across the board in specific geographical locations. So St. Louis, Missouri prices are going to be different from Little Rock, Arkansas, are going to be different from Aurora, Colorado, are going to be different from Portland, Oregon. You see what I'm saying? So how Xactimate works is it goes like this. Mrs. Jones, if I was going to ask you, how much is a gallon of milk? You'd say, it's like $2 or $3. Okay, well, at a gas station, it's like $4. At, a supermarket, it's $2. So Xactimate would say, based on these choices in this area, a gallon of milk is about $3, right? It gives you a fair market value price, right in the middle. Now, this is what's so significant about this process is now we do not write the bids. There's no such thing as a bid anymore. It's a line-by-line estimate based on this software. The prices are non-negotiable. This is what the insurance company pays. And so the adjuster who comes out from your insurance company to assess your roof, they're actually the ones that are going to give you the estimate. So they look at the roof and they say, okay, yes, we're paying for the roof. We're paying for shingles, underlayment, steep charge, bridge and starter. Yeah, right. Drip, because they don't pay for that. Drip edge, chimney, yada, 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 yada. So what we do is when it's an insurance claim, our retail prices, Mrs. Jones, I'm telling you right now, retail prices are at a bare minimum 25 to 30% higher than Xactimate. But because insurance claims are such a large portion of our business, we play ball, okay? So we also use Xactimate for these insurance claims so that we can be on par with what the insurance company is charging, even though it's less than what our retail prices what we'd like for them to be. So here's what we do. I'm still going to put together an estimate, but it's not necessarily my price. It's to compare scope. Again, our prices, since we're using the same software as the insurance company, our prices should really be the same as long as our scope is the same. Because when I say 1 square of shingles, $53, the insurance company should also have 1 square of shingles, $53. So if the prices at the end are different, it's not about the price, it's about, what's missing? So maybe we look at the scope and the insurance company missed the dumpster. They didn't put that on there. Or they didn't put the harness charges because you have a steep roof. Or they didn't put the ladder jacks because it's a 2-story gutter job, whatever. Okay? So Mrs. Jones, that's how it kind of works, but this makes bids completely irrelevant because our pricing should be the same. If there's any discrepancy, it's a discrepancy in the scope. And that's not anything that I'd charge you. If I come out and the insurance company comes out and they write their estimate and they say 10 grand, but I bring mine and mine says 13,000, we have to look at what items are missing that make up that $3,000 difference. And here's what I do, Mrs. Jones. This is why my role is so important in these claims, is I come out and meet with the adjuster, but when I meet with that person, I've already done everything they're supposed to do before they even get there. I have the line-by-line estimate, which is correct because that's what I do. I'm a contractor. I know what needs to be on there. I've had the time to look at your property and make sure that I put together a specific estimate for your property. I have the eagle view diagrams, the measurements. I've got all the pictures that I need. I've got everything done. So when I meet that adjuster, if you get a guy that's old, cranky, grumpy, uneducated, brand new, hasn't done this before, or is too afraid to get on the roof, or whatever, it doesn't matter because I'm going to have my scope there to be able to show them what's going on, okay? So that's kind of how you explain this to the customer. And at the end of there, they're just like, oh. So do you see how that kind of eliminates the need? It's in the presentation that way in a slightly different version so that it prevents that objection from coming up. But then if they do ask you for a bid, that's how you explain it. So you're basically going back into that presentation section there, but it eliminates it. And if somebody still asks you for a bid, I never write bid. I don't do it. you're going to know. If somebody's just like bid collector 5,000, like that is what they do. They love it. They just love to spend their dinner hours meeting with random contractors and asking about scope. If it's that person, just be like, Mr. Jones, I have to be honest with you. I know that maybe you don't know this yet, but I can tell you that that would be a waste of my time to just leave you a bid. And I'm way too busy to waste any time, you know? So what about, actually, I'd like to get my notes out because hold on. Just hold on here. I've got two notebooks now. I always hate this transition because it's like my old notebook has things in it that are recent enough that I have to find my old notebook. Why don't you take notes on the computer? Becca, it's 2015. Because, Matt, I just like to write things down, okay? Okay.
Actually, I was going to ask why you don't chisel it out of rock, and
Why aren't you taking a feather dipped in ink and writing on parchment paper?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
I do what I want. I do what I want. All right. So
Sure.
what I was going to review was, all right, so last week we had talked about kind of